me see. It's so dark in here. It's so weird. It is quite dark. I don't know why. There's a shadow from somewhere. Maybe it's just the way that the lighting is. Like the trees right here. It's exceptionally dark. So, hi guys, how's it going? Again, didn't see no notifications because I was just sitting here thinking. Actually, I had tweeted a little earlier about something and I wanted to elaborate on it. I know you don't have time to come on in, but that's fine. The point is to talk about the transgenderism and the transgender, what some are considering to be an agenda. And what I discovered today, I mean, I already knew about some of the chemicals that are in some of the substances. I knew about BPA. And when I'm saying I knew about the chemicals, I'm talking about the feminization, literally biological. Let's pause, sorry. I just look so weird with this dark setting. I don't know what's going on. If you're familiar with the chemical atrazine, I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's been found in a number of frogs. Now, this was done by a researcher at the University of Miami, or a university in Miami. He used to be in California, I believe. He's a black researcher who found that frogs develop, excuse me, feminine attributes, okay, including homosexuality, including actually physically developing eggs within, well, really they don't have uteruses, but developing eggs, right? So as we start to examine that a little further, now they tried to dismiss this guy, they tried to get rid of this guy academically, they tried to call him a fraud. Does that help? No, not helping. It's just such a shadow here, guys. I don't know why. I don't know what's gonna help, but it's definitely something I can't prevent. Sorry about that again, but yeah, so they tried to get rid of this professor, and they tried to say he was a fraud. They tried to say his research wasn't accurate, or it was accurate but it was flawed. The only thing that I've heard about this research that could be possibly skewed or flawed is the fact that they said that he produced it in the laboratory and it couldn't be produced in the wild. And now they have researchers actually putting frogs into ponds. I don't know if these frogs are naturally occurring. They say they're finding these frogs without doing any type of lab work on them, which means that these frogs are actually developing gonads and things that are connected to women, the male frogs, without having any sort of intervention. Now that would be logical, because what I just found was that this actual chemical, along with several others, but it's mainly atrazine. There's BPA, there's chemicals in Colgate. I just actually saw a medical article. It was on LinkedIn of all places. And I generally don't go on LinkedIn, although obviously I have a profile. But I happen to be researching, the actual data in relation to what's going on here. And when I say what's going on here, I mean in reference to the transgender situation and why there's such a high escalation in such a short period of time. It all started, of course, this morning when I was watching a video about some misogynoir. It was two gentlemen talking about women's periods and, how we're eating the wrong substances, the typical misogynoir, which makes our periods longer, which is absolutely absurd. But it looked fairly presentable. So I said, let me watch this and get a good chuckle. So I watched it, and it was surprising to me that some of the information, and he kind of hodgepodged it and, chopped it up and added in his opinion, which was the misogyny part, about what was going on. And one of the things he said was about the atrazine. Now, he didn't specifically say atrazine, I don't believe, but I had tweeted about this in the past anyway, so it's not something new. You know what? I forgot to connect my microphone thingy. Hold on a second. Yeah. So basically, what was so alarming about this article is, and I did not know this, there had been a lawsuit in 2012 against Atrovent, basically making it an illegal substance. It has not yet been declared illegal by the EPA and the National Institutes of Health, which basically is what you want to call the standard that we go by, right? They are investigating but have not come up with a solution as of yet. They know about this. They know that these hormones are in the water. They are causing physical changes in men that are, lasting for at least 3 generations. And I don't know if there's a whole lot at this point that can be done, because it's already been, at least 10 years. And so that would explain the escalation. It did say that in Europe they banned it in certain places. I think they said the UK in 2000 and we're about to look at the article. I think 2002 or 2004 they banned it, right? And California has it on its list, for a dangerous substance, right? But it still doesn't make it illegal for this to be literally in the water. So I'm sure the excuse will be it's not in a high enough amount, just as they said with Colgate. And if you guys go to my Twitter account, I have the actual images there, so you can look at the specific areas of the article without reading the whole thing. It's not that long, but it's from a medical doctor, and she gives some tips of how to avoid, washing your hands after, of all things, taking a receipt from a store, because it's on receipts. It's a substance that's on receipts that you get from the store, one of the chemicals. So see, I can't remember. Oof. I don't know how much of that you guys heard. I hope you heard all of it. I was trying to explain atrazine. Can you guys wave at me if you could hear everything I was telling you about atrazine and the company lawsuit and all of that? If you could hear it, what I was saying, and it didn't just pause the video, let me know. I can always tell you again. I was telling you the company name, which basically got sued regarding atrazine. I guess you guys couldn't hear me. And basically what they do to the female reproductive systems, the different drugs that are involved, triclosan, BPA, also atrazine, and these are commonly found in products. The problem is it's also widely known to disrupt the biology, the physical biology, in particular of males. It isn't something where estrogen in large amounts is going to necessarily, unless you're doing like a gender transition, going to affect a woman negatively. Obviously a woman going through menopause or something like that, but then those are adjusted levels of estrogen because she's no longer producing children. If you're talking about in males, then we're going to have a problem, and we're going to produce things that are going to be feminizing. So we're having an issue here with a biological substance, several biological substances, but the main one is atrazine, that are causing, and I actively invite you to go to my Twitter account at Real Alicia Gray, same as my Instagram, and check out some of it as far as the captions that I have there. I have the photographs. You can go directly to that part of the article and see what I'm talking about, because we've been hearing such an uproar about the new transgender understanding of feminism, which again I want to tell you, I am a black feminist, and I can tell you that those things are specific to white feminism and those who are into queer theory. It isn't something where all feminists believe this. Please don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. That's what they want. And please don't think that black feminism is white feminism and queering and all of that. It isn't. It's only if you choose to engage in those type of conversations and if you believe in that rhetoric. And I can tell you that unfortunately a lot of that is skewed. It's skewed in the belief system that everything is about queerness, and it's nothing wrong with being queer, but that's not what feminism is about. Feminism is about women. And this is what people were afraid of, that it was going to spiral out of control, and we were going to get to this point where all that we thought about was being queer and LGBTQI and IA and so forth and so on. Get off my bumper. Sorry. That's not what it's about. Feminism is about protecting the rights of women, and we cannot forget that. We're not going to get into cisgender women and all of this and so forth and designate ourselves accordingly. But I'm telling you, up until the last 6 years, this was unheard of. And when I say unheard of, I mean this whole, you're going to, name me by my pronoun and so forth and so on, to a point where it makes me curious as to where its origination actually is. And that's the important part, because if you're doing research, or if you're involved in this field, sociology, psychology, cultural differences and so forth and so on, you really want to know what's driving this. Right? And they suppressed this study down. And I told people about this study a couple of years ago. And again, they try to call this dude a quack. Yet we have people who are medical doctors who are corroborating what he's saying. Now, he did one specific study, but they're still finding these frogs. So if you're finding a male frog with feminine, actual anatomy, it's physically being changed. And when I said from the beginning was, something's going on. Either it's something physical, or people are grooming their kids at home to be certain genders, and they're readying themselves for something. Those of you who have psychological backgrounds, you understand, or backgrounds in psychology, you understand what priming is, right? Even sociology, when you prime a situation to prepare it for something that you're going to do, and normally it's something negative, you want to have people already in that mindset where you can prepare them for what's about to happen. So people are grooming 2-year-olds to say they don't know what gender they are, or they're non-gender, or they're specifically, one of the genders that they've chosen versus their biological sex. And I mean, if the child starts to identify at that age, generally we would say in psychology that he or she is going to grow out of it. If he or she doesn't, grow out of that, particular phase, at that point, I mean, we're talking, probably well into teen years, then you start talking to them about gender transition and all of that. But never push a child into a gender or groom them before it's time. But you can kind of see the correlation. I don't want to have a causal effect here, but you can definitely say that's something that we need to be concerned about. If we're like sillily, if I can even say that's a word, I don't want to say stupidly, but if we're really seriously thinking about the fact that we can